Get that band score. Unlock your bright future today.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to everyone. Welcome. Those of you who have joined in, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm super excited. I hope all of you are as excited as I am. As some of you already know that I learned English quite, later in my life. I was not born in an English-speaking country. I'm not born to English-speaking parents, so English is not my native tongue. And you see, just like all of you, once I used to struggle a lot, especially when it comes to speaking in English or really, expressing myself in English. So I have come a long way, you could maybe say that. And I can really feel for you, all of you who are struggling to learn this language, because this has become an important part of our professional life. Especially in that sense, it's really important to learn that. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, could you please do me a favor real quick? Subscribe to my channel right now and turn on that little notification bell, so whenever I upload a new video or if I ever go on live, you will be able to know that right away. Now, as for the tonight's agenda is concerned, we're going to be talking about entering the next year, inshallah, God willing, 2023. We want to enter it with full strategy, Tonight, we're going to really look at the ways to turn our dreams of becoming a good speaker of English language into reality by taking action. So whether you want to improve your spoken English, you want to learn how to develop your English writing, or you worry about your pronunciation or your accent or your grammar or reading comprehension or listening, etc. Inshallah, tonight you're going to get step-by-step process to really learn the language. You have always desired it, but now you will be able to do it, inshallah. All you need to do is just to show some consistency, and slowly and gradually you will be able to achieve your goals. So let's get into it. And by the way, if you're also excited as I am for tonight's live, could you please write in the chat box, excited? Because all of you who are joining me in the live tonight, they are going to get a free copy of my book that I have written. It's a mixture of, it's a one-of-a-kind book, basically. It's a mix of a workbook and a planner and a language improvement guide, if you will. So this is really going to be awesome, inshallah. And all of you who are joining in tonight, if you really want to claim that free book, please type in the chat box, book. And when once the live is over, I'm going to go back and check all of your comments. If there are any questions, I will do my best to answer those. And I would definitely reach out to every single one of you who would have written book or responded to me during the live session. I would reach out to you and I'm going to send you that book, inshallah. Later, this book would not be given away for free, okay? It is something I have really put, many hours into preparing. And you can only imagine, I've been teaching for so long, for almost 17 years now. So this is something that, I have really worked hard. This is like that distilled knowledge that I have gained in terms of how to help the language learners, English language learners, to improve their language. So let's get into it. What I will basically be doing is I'm going to show you some free, really some free resources that you can use to improve all 4 skills of the language. As you can see, language must be seen as really, a mixture of these 4 skills, right? So if you could just see on the screen, if you could see that this is basically, a jigsaw puzzle. So you could look at one color as one skill. So let's say yellow is your speaking, and that goes really well with your writing, and then that goes well with your reading, and that goes well with your listening. So all of these are not mutually exclusive. What does that mean? That's a big word, right? It actually means that all of these skills, they cannot be taken apart. If you want to improve your spoken English, if you want to improve your pronunciation, if you want to speak like a native speaker, there is no way you could just learn how to speak in English without listening to good English. You see, so the other piece of the puzzle is required. And so all of these skills actually work together, right? So this is absolutely important that we realize that and we do that, okay? So let's get into our real task. So what we need to do is basically, I'm going to be showing you some website one by one, and I want all of you to sit down with a notebook right now because I want you to take notes, all right? So first off, we're getting into looking at the listening skill. So we want to learn how to improve our listening skills, okay? So I'm going to be taking some help from my book, by the way, and because this book has these same resources that I'm going to be talking about, they're available in my book. So if you are joining me live tonight, you're getting this book, but you have to write down book in the comment section below. So you see, there are few websites that I have mentioned here. Now, what you need to do is you need to realize that when it comes to listening, obviously there are different accents, people speak in different ways. So what you want to do is you want to be able to probably pick one accent initially, like in the beginning, pick one accent, choose one accent for yourself and listen to more of that accent. Because if you want to adapt certain accent, you would have to listen to that more. If you, in the beginning, if you start listening to so many different accents, you would probably, that is going to affect your, speaking. Maybe like a bit negatively, right? So you need to be careful about that. However, if you're preparing for a language test, for example, you're preparing for IELTS, TOEFL, OET, or not really OET because that's specialized for a medical field normally. Other tests, such as Duolingo and others, then it's a good idea to start listening to a variety of different accents right away. Okay, now what you want to do is I want you to have a look at this kind of again, this is my book, as you can see. I'm going to show you this kind of a planner. So what you need is this kind of a weekly planner. Okay, guys, so you want to put like the month and the week in the, at the top of it. And then what you want to do is you want to put down different resources that we're going to be talking about. Obviously I'm not showing you all of these here. They'll be available in the actual book later. So as you can see, Monday you would start off by listening to BBC 6 Minutes English, right? And on Monday you listen to this, and there's a proper way you want to do that. So when you're listening, please note it down. When you're listening to any of these listening materials, whether it's BBC 6 Minutes English or it's TED Talks, or it's something which is a podcast, such as podcast I'm going to show you from the Aussie English or This American Life. These are a couple of podcasts that I have picked for you. No matter what you're listening to, you want to make sure that you have a word log with you and you noting down any new words. Now, what does this word log look like? Maybe it should look like something like this, right? Again, it's available in the book that I'm talking about. So as you can see, you can write down the words that you have learned, and you don't go to the dictionary and start copy pasting the definitions and meanings, right? What you want to do is when you're listening to something, right, and you note down and you think about, you come across a very interesting word. And what you want to do is you want to, write down its meaning, and you want to think about the sentence in which that word was used, so that you would learn the actual context, where it was used. Was it used formally, informally? Was it used to show anger? Was it used to show positive? Was it a positive word or a negative word? What situation was it used in? And maybe if you can think of any antonyms, the opposites of that word, if you could think of any other words that could mean the same, synonyms, right? So think about all of those things and you can write them down. Now, believe it or not, when I started learning English, I had a word log, and this is like 20 plus years back. I'm talking about like 20 years back, right? 2 decades ago. So obviously back then, I did not have all of these resources that I'm sharing with you now. These have made your job pretty easy. So really, you don't have any excuses not to improve your English now. If I could do it without this robust internet that we have right now, I did it using like old school methods, such as actually reading hard books, and actually I had a big word log. I had like a big notebook, and I used to note down all the interesting words that would sound good to me, or that would I would just feel like they're such a good word. So I would just write them down, and sometimes I would draw pictures that could go with that word. So I used to play around because it was something that I used to enjoy. So one thing that I would want you to do is I want you to enjoy the process. Don't panic. Don't tell yourself that this is hard and I can't do it. All these people who can speak so well. Trust me, one day, if you take these baby steps, but you do these consistently, one day, inshallah, you're going to be able to speak really, really well. So as you're listening to, let's say, 6 minutes English, you're going to be noting down any important words, right? And also, you also want to have another objective in your mind. Maybe you want to see how those native speakers are stressing certain words. What kind of up and down of voice, the intonation, do they have? Do they, how the way they use their voice, right? You want to notice that as well. And now the thing is, you may ask, well, how can I do that every day? Well, if you really want results, you would have to do it. And you would have to listen to something, one thing or the other every day. That's why I have planned it out all for you. So let's say on Monday, you're listening to 6 minutes English. BBC 6 minute English. It just takes 6 minutes, people. It doesn't take more, right? Now, let me show you how it actually looks like. Let me go back to my resources. I'm going to zoom in. Now it will take you there. You see, when you get the book, you actually get these links as well. So I'm going to take you to this link. Hopefully, when my internet works. Okay, there we go. So as you can see here, or maybe you can't see. Oh yeah, you can, right? So, whoa, look at that. So 6 minute English, all authentic, wonderfully designed lessons, basically. And there is a huge library of these, every, they bring out, they release these audios every month, right? So look at that. Just click on one thing, start listening, okay? So for example, let me pick Qatar's World Cup workers. Let's see what BBC is doing. So you see, you have different options here. You can download the PDF, you can download audio, and it even tells you the level, right? So you can play the audio, Okay, so you're doing that on Monday, okay? Starting next year, inshallah, which is around the corner. You're listening to 6 Minutes English and you have your word log, and then you note down any important words and you try to see how they're speaking. Alrighty, so this is it. That's your 6 Minutes English. All right, now after your 6 Minutes English, let's go back to our book again. And let's see what do we have planned out next. So on Tuesday, you're listening to TED Talks, okay? So let's go to TED Talk. Here we go. So I'm going to open TED Talks. Just pick pretty much whatever you like, okay? You can pick any topic. Now, TED Talks are normally advanced, right? So obviously these are people, and they're not always native speakers of English, by the way, but they do have very good English, right? So you would definitely pick really, really good vocabulary from TED Talks. And obviously you would gain a lot of knowledge as well, right? 4 things all great listeners know. Look at this, how incredible. You can listen to that, right? And so much more. So every Tuesday you're listening to TED Talks. Then what are we doing next? Next, we're picking one of the podcasts. So I would say, pick the American Life first and leave Aussie English for later, because this is a very different accent. Unless you're preparing for the IELTS test, then definitely do it. And then, so Tuesday, you can go to the This American Life. This is the podcast, free podcast. The good thing about this podcast is, as you can see here, you can click on any one of these. So for example, through the looking glass, let's look at this one. You could actually download the transcript. You could look at the transcript, and all of that is for free. Isn't that cool? So you see, this is all for free, people. So you can listen to the podcast and you can even look at the transcript. Normally, these kinds of services are not for free. So I have brought for you something which is a treasure. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is the podcast. And then you repeat the cycle, okay? So we're done with, let's go down and look at our schedule. Alrighty, so Thursday, you go back to 6 Minutes English, and then Friday, you're listening to a TED Talk again. Saturday, you're listening to a podcast. And Sunday, again, you're listening to BBC 6 Minutes English. So you see, you're not giving yourself a break, people. From listening, no break. No break from listening. All right? You have to do it. You have to do it. Now, once you're done with that, so you have your listening taken care of now, right? Now we move on to speaking, people. Speaking, okay? Now, with speaking, the problem with speaking is that because we don't have a lot of people to talk to in English language, we feel really intimidated, we feel scared, we feel even embarrassed because, there are those people who can speak so well, so they scare us off and we feel like, okay, because I can't, I can't really speak that well, right? This is how we kind of, this is what we think, right? So tell me in the chat box if you also think that speaking is really tough. You think that it's very, very hard. So in the chat box, write down speak if you think speaking is challenging for you. Just put in the chat box speak. All right. For speaking, once again, what are we doing is, speaking is something that we would also try to do every day, okay? So for listening and speaking, this is something we are doing around the clock, 24/7, every day of the week, we are doing these, okay? We are going to be listening, and we are going to be speaking every day. As for reading and writing, we can sort of take a break, okay? So I'll talk about it later, okay? So as for reading, yeah, let's go to this source. This is called One Stop English, incredible source. How would that help us with speaking, by the way? What you want to do is you can look at all of these ideas, and these are actually lessons, okay? You can look at any one of these, okay? So let's say on Monday, let's click on this lesson. So it says you have no more free resources left, right? So what you want to do is you want to register here, okay? So I would encourage you to register. It's a good website. You can register here, and then you would be able to see all of these lessons. I do have some lessons with me. I could have shown you, but because of the time constraint, I won't show them to you, but you can see here, right? So you can go to this website and you see there are all the speaking lessons here. So you pick one lesson and then you basically record yourself, okay? You pick a topic and then you record yourself in your phone, and you have to do it every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every day. But what do you talk about? You can use these different, these different options that I have given you. You see, even on my own Instagram, there are, and even on my YouTube channel, there are some prompts that I have recorded, and I plan to record more of those in the next year, inshallah, in 2023, which is around the corner. But what you can do is you can start writing a journal, and that's something you have to do every day. I mean, if you guarantee me that you're going to be writing a journal every single night, it could be simply 4 to 5 sentences. That's it. Okay, just 4 to 5 sentences would be enough. If you could guarantee me that, you will see the improvement that I'm talking about, okay? So I'm just looking at some chats here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at these to see some prompts for journaling. So you have to write about a certain topic, 4 to 5 sentences every single night. And then in the morning when you wake up, you pick a time of the day when you will have like a few minutes, just a couple of minutes, right, to record what you think about that topic. So this is your speaking practice then, right? So you record yourself in your phone, and what happens is when you listen to yourself, you really get to hear your voice, right? And that way you're able to really have the feel how you sound like in English. And also you get to really hear your pronunciation. So that really, really helps, right? Now there are other resources such as National Geographic Education blog and British Council's Learning English website. Let me show you this particular one. This has a treasure of everything, basically. So you see, for the speaking that I have given in my book here, so you've got different levels. Let's say you go to B1 speaking, okay? You get some sort of, there are lessons here, as you can see, agreeing and disagreeing, asking a favor, keeping a conversation going, meeting face to face, responding to news. So you have different lessons here as well. You pick a lesson, right? And you go through it. It does give you some preparation ideas as well. So what you want to do is, you have to do this preparation, which is pretty fun. So you see, you have to spare some time out for this, right? So you need some time. I would say if you can't do it every single day, pick 3 days. So you need to use the planner, the book that I have prepared. Once you get the book, what you want to do is you can pick and choose the days when you would be using this particular resource from British Council, right? Because this needs maybe like 10 minutes, right? So first you do this, for example, you're talking about this, so you're putting this here, and don't get me wrong, but I don't think so. You want to put it in disagreeing, and so on and so forth. So this really helps your vocabulary. Can't you see? So once you're done with that, you watch this video, you even have the transcript to look at if you can't understand something, let's say, for example, right? And then there are some tasks to do. Isn't that amazing? And these tasks, by the way, you can record one of these in your phone and then you can listen to yourself. Done? How many of you will be doing that? Just put down in the chat box, I am ready. Write down in the chat box, I am ready. Now remember, people who are interactive during the session, they're the ones who are getting my free book, inshallah. All right, so show me that you are here. So we're done with speaking now, I guess. Oh yeah, by the way, once you're done with, speaking, doing different tasks every day and recording yourself, it's a good idea if you have a speaking buddy, somebody, a friend, somebody from family that you feel comfortable with, somebody you think is not going to judge you and the way you speak. You can always share that audio with them as well. Would be a good idea, right? Okay, let's move on to the next skill, which is reading. Now, reading obviously is important, right? And I think people don't necessarily have a lot of issues with that, except that people don't have time to read. That's the biggest issue. But you see, the most important thing to improve your reading is really prioritizing it, thinking about taking the time out to read. And in my step-by-step plan, so we're going to be listening to something every single day, 7 days a week. We're doing some speaking practice 7 days a week. But for reading, you're doing the reading only for 4 days a week, okay? So you give yourself only 4 days to reading, okay? So you can pick on your own. What I have suggested is that you do the reading on the weekends, right? So wherever you are, depending on what your weekend looks like, if it's Saturday and Sunday, you can do that. 2 days in a row, if you want to do that, you could do that as well. So Saturday, Sunday, and then a couple of days during the weekdays. So maybe Tuesday, and maybe then Thursday. So it's up to you, really. But initially, what's important is that you pick something to read that interests you, that you would love reading, and then really build the habit of reading. I'll tell you something. To improve your reading, you really have to improve your discipline. You have to build the habit. So first, work towards building the reading habit. And then you're going to be working on how to improve your reading, right? Different skills like, how do you improve your understanding of what you have read or what you're reading and all of that. Before you do anything, you have to, get into the habit of reading. I remember when I started learning English, I used to read a lot. And as a teen, I used to read a nonfiction, fiction a lot, like novels and, that kind of stuff. I used to read a lot of fiction. But as I grew older, I stopped reading fiction and I started reading more, nonfiction, especially self-help and that kind of stuff. So, and to date, I'm a big, fan of nonfiction. I don't read fiction at all, to be honest. I barely read any fiction anymore. Okay.
All right, so finally, let's get into the writing. So, writing probably is a bit more intimidating. What I mean is that a lot of people do get really scared to even hold a pen and starting to, starting their writing journey. Probably because, they were scared to write while they were young, and maybe when they were at school, it was difficult for them to write because nobody actually taught them the process of writing. So over the years, this fear of not being able to produce something or put something on the paper became really, it just grew. It only grew with time. However, we're not going to get into any scary writing stuff because you see, we have different sorts of writings that we need to be doing, whether in our professional or personal lives, right? So when it comes to the professional life, we might have to write emails on a daily basis sometimes, right? So we write emails, we can initiate emails, meaning we can start writing emails, we have to respond to emails, we have to sometimes write letters, we have to write applications, sometimes we have to write reports. If we're studying, if we're a student, we might even have to write essays and articles. So all of that becomes very, challenging if we don't know the basics of writing, right? How to write sentences, correct sentences, that is a foundation, obviously. Now, in order to improve our writing in a very non-scary way, what we really need to do is we need to only do one thing over the course of the next 12 months, right? So for 12 months, what we need to be doing is we would have to write every single night about different topics that interest us, and they don't have to be anything serious. This is called journal writing, where you basically have to write about your reflections, your feelings, your emotions, things that are very personal, and the journal ideas can be found, they can be Googled. I also have compiled a list of different writing ideas, especially for journaling. So here that talks about writing, there are different resources. I haven't put a lot of them because I didn't want you to get overwhelmed. So if you notice here, you can see this British Council's website, IELTS Nuggets, that is my own, and then we have One Stop English. So let me first take you to my own resource. What you see here is this Instagram page, okay? And on the highlights, if you see, just move a bit, and then you'll be able to see these journal, right? So there's a highlight called journal prompts, right? And over here, you would get to see around 10 journal prompts, right? You can find them here on my feed as well, different journal prompts. So you see this one is journal prompt 10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. You see, and they're very, very, small prompts, very interesting, really fun, and you can write about them 4 to 5 sentences. So basically, the idea is not to go to bed, without having written those sentences. Another really interesting resource in the book is the British Council's Learn English website that we would also be using for reading, and we have used, actually, I've gone through it. So if you go to this link that is in the book already. There are different levels of writings that are given here, right? So you've got A1, A2, B1, B2, and C1. So depending on really where you stand currently, you can explore these. So if you notice, let's try A2, which is going to be very, very simplistic, very simple, right? This is pre-intermediate. So, you know, it could be, you know, writing about a personal profile, an accommodation form, an email about a business event, an email cover letter, email explaining a problem. So you see the language used here wouldn't be very difficult. So these are not journal prompts, and these are actually a more like, you know, you could get some ideas about it, but these are not really journal prompts. But what you can do is you can, for example, from here, when you go down here, you see my profile, and then you get to see this little text. From here, it can give you some ideas, right? For example, hobbies. So you could write a journal prompt on your favorite hobby that you would like to take up. So currently, you probably are not doing that. It's not your hobby, but something that you would like to do as a hobby, right? So you could write like 4 to 5 sentences about it, and this is it. You know, you want to keep it fun. If it's not fun, you know, it doesn't really work, because then you're going to be losing motivation, and you're not really going to like it anymore, and then you wouldn't write. And this is not what we want. We just want to consistently write for an entire year. You know, that's the plan. So if you see, as you move along, you're going to see there are different types of writings here. And as your level of English improves, you can even move on to writing more complex things, but not as a part of this plan. The plan is to write only journal. So let me just take you to our weekly planner. Okay. So if you want to look at it, it just, you know, goes on to showing, let's say, for example, on Monday you are doing some sort of listening. You know, for example, you're doing BBC 6-minute English and speaking, you're recording your audio about an idea that you actually heard in this listening audio. Okay. So you heard something in the audio, and then you recorded yourself, maybe your feelings or ideas about that particular audio that you heard here, right? And then at night, you wrote a journal entry. You wrote 4 to 5 or 6 sentences about that. Okay. On Tuesday, again, you see, you're listening to TED Talk, and you're then, again, you had an idea that you heard in the TED Talk, and then you went ahead and you recorded yourself, you know, discussing that idea, maybe for 1 or 2 minutes. Then the same idea could be actually used to write your journal at night. So you see, if I'm going to zoom out here, you'd be able to see that we're actually doing this journal writing every single day of the week. Okay. So Monday to Sunday, we are actually writing. Okay. So we're writing every day. So now you see, the point is that so far we've looked at all the different, skills. So we've looked at speaking, then we started off with listening, then we moved on to speaking, then we did the reading, and finally we looked at writing. So the actual writing that we're doing for fun, for improving our other skills as well, is actually journal writing. We're not doing any other kind of writing for this part of this plan. Okay. Now the idea is that now we're doing all of that. How do we really put it together? You see, it's like the pieces of puzzles we've kind of, understood now that this is how it works. How do we put it all together? So basically, what you do is, while you're working on one skill, like I just explained it to you. So once you're listening, you're getting some ideas, right? So you're getting some ideas to speak about. So you record your audio, right? So it's like, if you go back now and go back to that puzzle picture. So you see, once you were listening, you heard an idea, then you spoke about it and you recorded yourself, right? Then twice or thrice a week, you read something, and then that topic that you read gave you some ideas about speaking as well. So you can either talk about the idea that you read or an idea that you heard in the listening, and then you spoke about it and you recorded yourself. Okay. And one of those ideas can be actually used to write a journal prompt. You can use to write a journal, basically, right? So this is how we put all of these together. And while we're doing that, when you're listening to something new, for example, you're listening to TED Talk, you're listening to 6-Minute English, or listening to any podcast that we've talked about, obviously you're going to be picking up some words. Now, what you need to be understanding is that while we, hear a new word, or while we read a new word, we don't have to quickly jump to the dictionary and start looking for it in the dictionary. Okay, what we need to do is that we need to think about the word, how it is used within the context. Okay, so for example, let me just go through one part of my book here, right? So it says here, growth is on the other side of discomfort. Get uncomfortable. So you see, what does uncomfortable mean here, really? The way the word uncomfortable is used here, you need to understand what it really means from the context. Okay. And also, for example, the word discomfort, what does that mean? Right? Growth is on the other side of this discomfort. So, when you read the words in context, it just makes itself clear to you. It gives you its own meaning in a way, right? That is in a way that is not written in the dictionary, but you kind of understand that, right? Now, whenever you come across this kind of word, what you need to do is you need to note it down, right? And for example, throughout the week, in the journal, in the planner, I have written this part which says notes. You could either, note down certain words or ideas here every week. Yeah. Or you could have a separate small little, pocket-sized notebook where you're writing all these words. And then finally, when it's time for your monthly review, what you do is you pick up your, planner, and you think about all the different skills. So writing, speaking, listening, and reading. And you think about how, or what are the new things that you learned that month, in the entire month, right? So what are the things that really, really improved, things that you're still struggling with? So it's kind of a monthly review, as you can see here, right? And then, you write about the words that you learned throughout the month, while you were working on these different skills. So while you were writing your journal, maybe you used certain words that really, you feel now more comfortable using. You think that you understand those words, so you can write those down in this circle here, words of the month, right? The words of the month, right? So this planner that way would really help you get disciplined, and week after week and month after month, you can only imagine your growth, right? Now, if you don't have a pocket-sized, notebook or anything, you don't want to do it, so don't worry about it. But at the end of this guided planner, I have also given these word log sheets. You can use these as well. So what they really do is they give you this meaning, sentence, context, other info. You could even draw the meaning of a word here, right, if you wish, just to make it more memorable in your head, right? Now, a question I always get is about grammar. What about that scary grammar? What about that? What do we do? Okay. So what we really need to, understand is that unless you're preparing for a test, for example, IELTS, TOEFL, PET, CALPIP, OET, or, any of the language tests that you're preparing for, GRE or whatever, you don't really need to really learn the grammar rules the way those tests will actually test you, right? What I mean is that you don't have to worry about grammar, because, if you want to learn a language in its natural way, it's, you need to really go back and in your childhood and think about how you learned your first language. How did you learn your mother tongue? You really have to ask yourself, Well, did somebody, sit down and tell me this is a noun and this is the verb and these are the adjectives, and adjectives are the words that describe a noun? And no, nobody did that, right? Nobody told us all these, you know, big words and these terminologies, and nobody gave us all these rules and then told us, all right, now that you have learned about nouns and simple sentences and complex sentences and inverted sentences and clauses and all of that, so now you can go and you can communicate with your parents and you can talk to your siblings, and you can go ahead and you can communicate with your friends and make friends and whatnot, right? Nobody did that. So in the same way, if you want to learn English in a more natural way, you don't have to worry about grammar. That's the best advice I can give you. What you really need to understand is, while you're picking up these bits and pieces of language, right? These little pieces from different skills, while you're listening to the audios, 6-minute English, you're listening to the TED Talks, you're listening to different podcasts, and you're recording yourself speaking, you're trying to improve your pronunciation, you're, really focusing on the way the native speakers speak, and you're really trying to, improve your vocabulary, you're learning new words, and you're reading, more often. You're even writing every night, right? You're not sleeping until you write 4 to 5 sentences. So when you're doing all of that, this is automatically, improving your grammar over the course of 6 months. And I can guarantee you that, inshallah. What you need to do is you need to be consistent and you need to really follow this plan, right? You don't have to skip a day. You don't have to give yourself any excuses. You need to use the planner. You have to do it week after week, day after day. This is like a total plan that you can actually use to really be disciplined. Everything is done for you. It's like spoon-fed. It's like out there for you. All you need to do is just go out there and do it, right? So what you need to do is you need to just focus on picking up these little bits and pieces from these different skills, and slowly, very magically, you would start building the rules in your head without even knowing the rules, right? It's very interesting. Like, if I were to ask you, can you give me the rules of your mother tongue? Like, what kind of sentences are there in, let's say, in your mother tongue, if your mother tongue is Urdu or Arabic or Hindi, or Afrikaan, or whatever language that you speak and you learned as the first language. I bet you can't really name all the rules, right? This is exactly how it's going to happen to you. You would magically understand the grammar rules. A time would come where, you would be using the correct language without possibly thinking about it. Okay, but you need to give yourself time and you need to follow the plan strategically. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead, subscribe the channel and hit the like button and turn on the notification bell as well, because I will be posting more videos, inshallah. So stay tuned, and I really wish you all the best, and I hope 2023 will be the year that you're going to be, inshallah, improving your English. And I hope that you have already gotten the copy of this planner, and if you haven't, then I would encourage you to go ahead and do it and get this planner, because this is going to make your life so much easy, so much easy. This is going to be available soon for distribution as a paperback in Pakistan, inshallah. It's already available on Amazon for my international audience, and you can purchase it worldwide on Amazon.com. You can just go and search English Language Improvement by Aisha Aslam. Make sure your spellings are correct, and you're going to get this amazing plan, one-of-a-kind plan. And if you're in Pakistan, you can write to me, and inshallah, the Pakistan edition will be available as a paperback at a very, very affordable price, inshallah. So let's get started. Don't let anything get in your way, and I would say, get uncomfortable and let's improve our English. So I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye and assalamu alaikum.